Hello everyone, it's the Jadders here, and this video is going to be a comparison between arguably the two of the best phones out right now. This is a versus video of the iPhone 5 versus the HTC One. So without further ado, let's get started, shall we? So just starting off with the specs, the HTC One features a quad-core Snapdragon 600 chip with a clock speed of 1.7 GHz and 2 GB of RAM, as well as an Adreno 320 graphics chip. The iPhone 5, on the other hand, features a 1.3 GHz Apple A6 chip with 1 GB of RAM. And so you can see right here from the Geekbench scores that the HTC One pretty much has almost doubled the score compared to the iPhone 5, and that's really down to the processor and the RAM and everything involved with it, and that's really to be expected with the iPhone 5. And again, I'll go back to this, that specs aren't really everything, and benchmark scores don't give an accurate view of the real world performance of the phones. So again, that's enough of that. Now moving on to the build quality, these two phones have probably arguably the best build quality of any phone built. They're both made out of very good high-grade aluminium, and with iPhone 5 has some glass on the back, but here you can see both of them are really very high quality build, very sturdy, they feel very nice in the hand, and just very good build, and arguably they compete with each other for the best build quality. Now in terms of talking about individual build, HTC One, I'd actually say feels slightly better in the hand. The aluminium feels a bit sort of smoother and softer on it. Maybe it's just me, but it just feels sort of nicer. The back is also curved, so when you hold it in your hand, and it doesn't sort of dig into your hand as much as the iPhone 5, which again for me was a problem because these mirror glass edges tended to dig in your hands quite a bit, which is a problem for me. But again, saying these are some of the best built phones out right now. Very nice build quality, very high end. Now looking at the back here, you can see that the iPhone 5 and the HTC One both have cameras at the back. The iPhone 5 has an 8 megapixel camera, while the HTC One has a 4 ultra pixel camera, and ultra pixel means that essentially this camera is going to be have a sort of a better performance in low light situations. So in sort of darker situations, it's going to get more light into the camera and give you a little better, more cleaner, brighter images. But arguably both phones take very good photos at any sort of distance. HTC One again performs a bit better in low light, but again in normal everyday light they both take great photos, very nice. And don't let the fact that it's just a low megapixel count, don't let that think that means it's going to be a lower quality picture, because it tends to work perfectly fine. The only problem I'd say with the cameras is that when you want to digitally zoom on any photos taken from HTC One, you kind of get a bit more pixelation occurring, obviously because there's less megapixels. And so just a bit of a warning, when you do choose the HTC One, be aware that the camera isn't going to let you zoom in as much and maintain good quality as much as the iPhone 5, because obviously that has a higher megapixel count. Now moving off to the front, the HTC One, as you can see right here, has two of these front-facing stereo speakers built in, and these are called HTC's Boom Sound speakers. Now I've done a comparison between the iPhone 5 and the HTC One in my HTC One review, so if you want to see that directly you can go check it out. But basically giving you the gist of it is this phone takes absolutely amazing, gives absolutely amazing sound quality when you listen to anything from the speakers, and it's got a Beats audio built right in, so if you like to listen to a lot of sort of heavy bass music, then it's really good for that as well. Just really music in general. But iPhone 5 on the other hand, it's got sort of this monologue speaker at the bottom, which is right down here, and it's all right, I'd say. I mean, it gives a decent sound, but again it feels a bit tinny, and really once you listen to the HTC One you realise every other phone really kind of pales in comparison to it. Now talking about the screen quality, the HTC One obviously has a much higher, better screen quality, because it features 1920 by 1080 Full HD Super LCD 3 display, which just gives you about an approximate PPI of 470. I think 467 or 69. I'm not too sure, but again, a very, very high pixel density. And you know, when you look at any kind of image or video or text or anything on this display that renders in full 1080p, it looks absolutely stunning. I mean, it's just absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it's one of the highest PPIs on any screen, any mobile screen anyway, that you'll ever see, and it's really, really gorgeous screens. Everything looks absolutely sharp, amazing quality. Nothing looks any sort of, you don't find any sort of pixelation in any of this. The iPhone 5 on the other hand features an 1136 by 640 IPS display, which again gives you 326 PPI. Now again, it's not a bad display. I think I said this in my iPhone 5 review, that it's not really a bad display, but again, once you've seen it with the HTC One, it doesn't really, it kind of, again, it pales in comparison to it. But again, it's not going to be any pixelation on this anyway, really. It's meant to be a retina display, so you're not meant to see pixels at regular distances. And I think that's true, that you do get a very good sharpness and due to that high PPI. And it's very nice and very good anyway, but again, it's not as good as the HTC One in that aspect. And now this is down to probably the most controversial part of the video. It's down to the user interface. Now you can sort of argue whether you prefer Android or iOS. I'm just going to say, really, if you prefer the sort of more simplicity of iOS, you know, with all just the icons and nothing else, you know, just go for it. If you prefer Android, you like to customize your phone to exactly your liking, you know, you like to put ROMs or anything like that, then choose the Android phone. And it's down to whichever OS you really want. And it's really, I'm not going to go too much into detail on it, but yeah, if you like Android, go on Android. If you like iOS, go for it. With Android, you get a lot more customization. You can really make the phone however you want. It's got some really nice Google apps built into it. With iOS, you've got a few different things about it as well. One thing I really like to stress is that app quality tends to be quite good, a lot better on iPhone. I found a lot of the apps I use just tend to be, when I go onto the same apps on Android and iOS seems to have a bit sort of higher quality, more, like I say, polished is the best way to say it, is apps. It just tends to be a little more snappy, a little more built, because obviously it's built for that specific phone and that specific screen, whereas Android apps fit a broad range of screens. So again, that has something to do with it. I mean, they're not bad on Android, but again, I find that iOS apps tend to be a little bit better in terms of just navigating through and things like that. Now, one thing I do want to stress is that the charge on iPhone 5 is absolutely amazing. I have to say, when I charge it, it just blazes through just recharges almost instantly. I mean, I can go from 0 to 100% in about an hour and a half, sometimes even less than that, and it's just a really, really quick charge for me, who's a power user and just wants to get it done really quickly, wants to charge the phone really quickly, and just have it there for you when the battery is a bit low. HTC One is probably almost the opposite of that, and I think a lot of people actually complain that the charging time is a bit slow. And it does have a bigger battery, again, that one thing. I want to stress it as a 2,300 mAh battery versus the 1,400 mAh battery. But they do obviously get almost the same battery life. HTC One, you get a bit more, obviously, and you can squeeze a bit more out by going into power saving mode, which is just right there. But again, its battery life is about the same. The instant charging tends to do it for me. It's just a really nice thing to have, just to quickly charge the phone and not have to wait around for it. Especially when most phones, you know, don't tend to last most of the day. And again, just one final thing I'd like to say is specifically about the screen. Is the screen sensitivity of the iPhones tends to be a bit better. It tends to have a slightly better idea of where what I'm trying to press or what I'm trying to do, especially when I'm in the browser, and it tends to have there's sort of small writing which is a link to another website, and you know, with the HTC One I tend to click it and then it just thinks I'm clicking something else, or it doesn't accurately sort of tell it doesn't actually know what I'm doing very well. and it just tends to be slightly annoying because then I have to sort of pinch and zoom until I can the sort of writing or link is big enough, and that just is a bit of annoying. It's not too much of a bad thing, but it does tend to be a bit of a hindrance. And just one last thing before I go. Just want to compare the Google Now voice search towards Siri, because this is Siri for me is just almost pointless, and something I said again in my iPhone 5 review is that it's just way too slow compared with Google Now. It just tends to lag behind so much, and I'll just give you a comparison here, just to show you just a big difference in it. What's the weather today?
Today's forecast for Q3 is 20 degrees with a thunderstorm.
How tall is Barack Obama?
Barack Obama is 1.85 meters tall.
Let me think about that.
Then you can see right here it's just lagging behind.
This might answer your question.
Yeah. So I got there eventually, but again, it's really slow. Just one last thing I'll do. What is 12 times 12?
The answer is 144.
Checking on that. This might answer your question.
And it doesn't even say it. Just gives me a sheet and I have to read that. So again, you can see just the difference in Google search and Siri search. Again, very bad. I think Apple really needs to speed this thing up, because when it came out, it was useful, but then Google Now wasn't as good back then. Now this is really taking over. Really snappy, very quick, and this is just lagging behind. I think Apple really need to fix that if they want to have a chance of competing with Google search. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed my video. Please don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe. Please check out my other videos as well, and have a good day. Thank you.